I am James Ryan. We're in Inverness. Well, right now we're in Deepdale, which is a subdivision of Inverness, walking along the former train tracks, which is now a part of the Trans-Canada Trail. I worked in film for a number of years back in Halifax. I went to film school in 2001. I graduated about 2003 and worked up till about 2008. I worked in one of the rental houses at WHOis, and then I worked on set in the electrical department, which eventually led to me becoming an electrician during one of the strikes. I went to school for electrical to try and up my stock as an electrician on set, and then I just stuck in that direction. So what I'm hoping is that we can bring some work in this area, some films back to Inverness because of the beautiful surroundings. A lot of people here would do great working on set. It's a wonderful industry, and there's a lot of stories to tell. So, I mean, big films and stuff coming this direction could be years away, but in the meantime, we can't let these stories disappear with this generation. So hopefully we can give them a new medium, maybe start telling them in video format. We're working on these 2 short films right now, which will be narrated in Gaelic with English subtitles, and the stories will be subtitled in Gaelic themselves. So we're going to use that as an educational tool and kind of get the ball rolling. Hopefully we get enough people interested in what we're doing here that we will soon work on bigger projects up until, I'm hoping in the next 5 years, maybe shoot our first full-length feature, 1 hour to 1.5 hours, and just see where it goes from there, really. This is the location of one of the first shoots we're doing. It's going to be called Forerunner. It's a little story about the ghost train of Glencoe, which was an old ghost story that people used to tell. I grew up listening to this one because allegedly it happened to my mother's uncle or granduncle or some relative of hers. So she's actually the writer of this story, and she and my father are co-directing it. And so basically 2 guys are walking to a dance. They hear a train, but these trains aren't supposed to be running at this time. And then the ghost train comes, and along with the ghost train there's a headless man. So I'm giving a quick version of this story, but it's going to be pretty exciting. It's going to be a fun one to see. It's one of 2 stories we're telling, and they both kind of end up at the same square dance. So the second story is going to be taking place at a dance hall, the big square dance going on where the devil shows up, and he tries to seduce a young lady who's very pious and religious and righteous in her own way. So what we're doing this for is basically to hopefully start some kind of a film industry in this area. I was born and raised in Inverness. Recently, when I graduated high school, there was no choice but to leave, and it's the same with a lot of people I graduated with. Only recently, I mean, starting with the golf course, but not directly related, there has been the chance to move back to the area and start working for myself. So that's what brings me here, really. My father was a teacher. He taught in Margaree. He never taught me. He's from the area originally. His father was also James Ryan, and his father's father was also James Ryan. One of the most interesting family stories I can think of was when my great-grandfather moved to Nova Scotia. He sailed into Halifax and left his wife back in, I believe they were coming from Wales at that time. And he came up to Inverness because he heard of the work at the coal mines up here. And he spent a winter and he hated it. And so he walked back to Halifax after the winter, and apparently his wife was coming to surprise him in Inverness. So on the way back, they crossed each other in the night, and he got to Halifax and realized that his wife was up in Inverness looking for him. So he turned around and walked back to meet her, and then he decided he wasn't going to do that journey again. So that's why the Ryans are still in Inverness today. Be thy the barrow boy in the old town, sells coal and marigolds, and he cries out all down the way. Yeah, my father was a teacher. He retired recently, and now he's a full-time caddy in the summer. My mother, she works with Mill Road Social Enterprises at the Closet, the clothing store that's a part of it. She manages that area. She's originally from Windsor, Ontario, and she spent her summers coming up. Her family's originally from Glencoe. So they met during one of her summers up here. My wife is from Germany. I met her in Halifax. Oh God, she's going to kill me for this. I'd say 2009, I think, or maybe 2010. She was a graphic designer. She went back to Germany to finish her studies because I met her during an exchange program, and then she moved back after about a year and a half, and we've stayed together ever since. We moved to Inverness 2 years ago, full time. I worked in Alberta for a couple years up in the oil sands, and when the price of oil kind of dropped off, I decided to start working for myself, and that in Halifax was my plan, but eventually there's just so much construction going on up here, there wasn't really anybody local to do it all, so I started picking up bigger and bigger contracts till eventually I was traveling to work here full time and traveling back to Halifax on the weekends. And I kind of joke around that I'm the first Cape Bretoner to live in Halifax and travel for work in Cape Breton. But once we moved up, we had our daughter in July of 2016, and we moved up that fall, and we've been here ever since. My wife, she is the owner and creator of Truffle Bar Chocolates. She makes handmade, artisan, European-style truffles, and they're probably more popular than anything I've ever done. So it's a bit of a competition in the house of two business owners who's the most successful, but it's easily her. She just does such a good job. Like, she takes her artistic background and puts them into each truffle, and it really shows. So if anybody's in the Inverness area, you got to try out Truffle Bar Chocolates. Still I push my barrow all the day. I started playing music. I think I first played the guitar when I was 12 years old. It was in music class. What was it? The 12-chord blues, the first thing I learned. And after that, I took music lessons from Glenn McCackern for about a year. And then over the years, Brian Doyle, who was friends with my parents, whenever he was by, he would teach me a lick or two on the guitar. And I stuck with it from then on. When I was about 15, I think would have been the first time I started playing kind of professionally. Me and my cousin Mike, who's in the Town Heroes now, we started a band with a few guys, and that summer, I guess I would have been 16, we started playing shows at the Hof, the now defunct Hof, and that started to become my summer job. So each year we would practice and learn new songs, and every summer all our friends were out mowing lawns and working at the fish plant, and we'd be playing shows at the Hof or at the pub in the tavern in Port Hood and all the local bars. So that kept going till all the way through my film school. And then I think it was 2003, the band we had at the time was called Billy's Flick. We relocated to Halifax and stayed there and played in the scene for about 2 or 3 years, and it was great. I had always stuck with music since then. My next big achievement after that band broke up, after a few small failed bands, was when I went to NSCC for electrical. I got into the College Idol competition, which is all the NSCCs across the province put on like an American Idol style competition where they have you try out at your school and then you go to the big competition. I finished 3rd in the province, so that's one of my biggest singing accomplishments. But since then, mostly the stuff I've been doing has been working with the concert series at, I can't remember, at Strathspey. We played a lot of shows at Strathspey. So I got to play the part of John Fogerty. I got to be Loverboy for a song, and a couple other acts. I didn't do all of them, but I got to be in a couple of the big ones. And I've always really enjoyed it, and I miss that. We're not doing them anymore. And yeah, so now I'm just playing for myself, playing for my daughter. I heard you knocking at my cellar door. I love you, baby, can I have some more? It's gone, the damage done. I hit the city and I lost my band. I seen the needle take another man. Gone, gone, the damage done.
James Ryan, I want to end the long speculation as to who shot JR.
Well, looks like it was you, Michael.
That's it.
You finally got me.